what's up guys? I'm out shooting waterfalls in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I saw this amazing reflection in this waterfall right over my shoulder. I want to show you how I did it, setting it up in a pano right after this. Alright guys, so you know in the last video when I told you about circular polarizers and how you spin it until you remove surface glare off of the water? Well, I kind of went totally against that this time because right now it's like golden hour out here in the landscape. The river is in shadow behind the mountain and the sun's going down and it's making all this like really blue and golden light, and it's actually reflecting like tons of oranges and yellows at the same time, and it's putting a lot of complementary color into the image as well. So what I wanted to do was, there's like this ridge going back that you can see behind me. What I wanted to do is shoot a pano of that going all the way across, because I thought maybe it just might make a pretty cool pano image because it's got a lot of those blues, got a lot of yellows, got a lot of oranges, a lot of complementary colors. And going from left to right, it even has some swirl down in the foreground. So I want to show you exactly how I did that. It's going to be really loud down by the falls if you can't tell already. So bear with me on the noise, but we're going to go through this process of how I'm doing exactly what I'm doing with this pano. Okay guys, so basically what I'm doing here is setting up so I have a linear line going all the way across with the ridge of the waterfall that's right behind me. What I want to do with my camera is set it up vertically so I can create like little stitched images going across, and I want to pan those just enough so that I can see 50% that's in one, move on to the next, 50% within the next. So I pick a spot within the frame that I can tell is going to be a good stopping point, and then if that's the stopping point of one frame, it's the middle point of the next frame, and I just go along in a row shooting that. Now with a circular polarizer, since I'm putting glare on the water, I don't want to spin that and twist it. What I want to do is leave it where it is so that as I turn the camera from left to right, the glare doesn't change. So what I'm going to do is turn my camera based on its pivot point like this, so that it stays steady and that I don't get any variation. It stays level all the way across, and that way I can stitch it together later in post-processing. So what I want to do is shoot this right now and then show you guys in post-processing exactly how I'm going to stitch this together. It should be an adventure. I have no idea if this is going to be a good photo or not. It seems pretty promising though because of all the reflection and glare that's showing up. Just amazing color right now in the Smokies. That was seriously one of the most intense shoots ever. The water was going so fast and I almost lost my camera over the edge of that rock a couple times right after I hit stop recording. So I'm really glad that my tripod held on that rock. It was so slick, like the feet almost slipped out from right underneath the camera. With the flow of the water, like the strength of the flow, it was just going right at the bottom of that camera. So I'm really glad that didn't go over the edge and I can actually finish this and shoot this. So with these images, they turned out pretty good. So if you look on my computer screen right now, I can show you, okay, this is the first image in the sequence, and you find that in Lightroom. I'm using Lightroom, by the way, because Luminar 2018 does not host anything that will combine panoramas. So I actually have to still use Lightroom to be able to do that. You can also do that in Photoshop. If you have Photoshop, you can merge photos into one panorama. I think the process is easier in Lightroom, which we're going to be going through in that. Let's look at the first image in this section, and you can tell by the image sequences what I was talking about in the field shooting this waterfall. You have the first sequence having just the far left edge of this waterfall, and on the right side I know, okay, this little rock that was separating these two images is going to be near the middle of my frame in the next shot, so I don't have any gaps in my panorama, because then I wouldn't be able to merge these two together, because the pano merge looks for lines, it looks for objects that are in there to merge the images together on a plane. So what I have here is this rock, and the next image is a little further into the frame, and the next image is a little further, again, a little further, and then almost out of the left side of the frame. This wasn't a huge pano, like 180 degrees, but having something picked out in the image that you can use to slowly move over in the sides of the frame will help you a lot in your panoramas. But let's merge these and get these into one image. I select the first one, and then I hold down my shift key and select the last image that's in this pano sequence. And then what I'm gonna do is right click, and I'm going to go to Photo Merge, Panorama. And I'm gonna let Lightroom find these objects that I've strategically paired up in the image, like that rock that I just told you about, and have it pair up these panos in a whole sequence. Okay, so it's finished merging these together into one image, and I have a few options here that I can go through. I have spherical merge, cylindrical, and perspective. I like to choose each one of these and see how it's merged them together, because they're all going to have a different projection. So you need to think about this like how maps are projected. So there's not one single projection of the map of the Earth because it's on a sphere. So if you think about your panos in the same way, you're actually panoing from left to right or right to left with a wide angle lens, having distortion in the front, distortion in the back. This is using those, having that distortion and having three different perspectives that you can use. Much like the map that I just talked about, having a projection from a sphere, you have like Mercator, you have conal, you have spherical. So you really need to know like that it's kind of the same process. So I have spherical projected right now, and it looks pretty good. I like how this looks. I like how I have the swirl in the foreground right here and cool leading lines going into the image. I can look closely in, and it's merged these pano images really, really well together. This is a good merge. I like this a lot. But I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to select cylindrical projection and see how that looks based on the different projection style that this has. Every projection style is going to give you a different option with your image. So cylindrical looks awesome. I really love how this looks. I mean, spherical is more like your classic view of a pano, and but cylindrical is really warping that wide angle look and distorting this and giving me tons of lines to use in my composition, using those as leading lines, and then also having like some of these algae spots on this rock. This is where actually right here is where my tripod almost went over the rapids into the water. Let's look at perspectives. Sometimes perspectives or a projection really doesn't work with an image. This makes it look a little bit flat. I have tons of distortion up here on the right hand side. I could crop that out. But honestly, guys, out of these three options, I like cylindrical the best because it has that wild foreground look to it. I've never really seen a pano look like it does in that image right there. So we're gonna use this merge and have it in this like portrait aspect view of this landscape. I really like that. It looks really good. So then all you do is hit merge, and it's going to merge a new image together for you and add that to your Lightroom library. It basically does all this stuff for you. Okay, so here's the image that I finished up with. Guys, this looks awesome. So there are just a few tweaks that I can even make to this, just having this image like this. I'm gonna warm this up a bit with my temperature. I'm gonna increase my exposure. Every image is different, so every edit is going to be really different. I'm gonna make my contrast really big. This could be a really cool image though, having so much tones throughout this image. I'm gonna increase my clarity, get a lot of detail in this. Not too much though, maybe about 13. And then my vibrance, I really want up high because I have some cool blue tones in this water. Saturations, I'll pull up a little bit, but not too much because I already pulled up vibrance a significant amount. And this looks so good because I have so many different color tones and complementary colors in this, with yellows and oranges and greens in this water and yellows and then blues down here in this water. It looks really cool. You have reds and oranges in this background. I love how this image looks. And then I'm gonna go down here to the HSL sliders, my hue, saturation, and luminance options. And I'm actually going to make my greens a little bit more saturated. And then I'm actually going to, maybe I'll use the adjustment brush to brighten up this back section of the image. So I'm just gonna select the adjustment brush and paint this in. I like to keep my exposure all the way down to know exactly where I'm painting, and then I just double click on that and get it back to 0. And then I can use this adjustment brush, increase my temperature, increase my exposure a little bit, contrast, clarity, and saturation, and that a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, maybe. That looks pretty good right there. Guys, this image turned out really good. I like how it looks, I like how it feels, and it's just like an otherworldly view using a pano. I shot so many panos this day, and I know that using panos in the future, you guys can use them and use lines over multiple images up to a 180-degree view, or even more, really, of creating compositions that you can't do in one image. So using lines, using motion, using the flow and direction of things to create an image is what you do to use a pano to your best ability as a landscape photographer. Guys, if you like this video or you found it useful at all, hit that thumbs up button. Comment below if you love using panos, or if you want to learn more about using panos, ask me a question as to what you want to learn. And also subscribe to this channel if you're a landscape photographer and continue watching. Here's a video right now showing up that's the best option for you as a YouTube viewer based on your search terms in landscape photography.